Imagine this. You, a man of intellect and principle, standing alone in the crowded marketplace of modern love. In one hand, a lantern, your reason, your hope, your search for something true. In the other, your heart still intact, but not untouched. You move through the noise, the chaos, looking not for beauty or excitement, but for honesty. And yet, the deeper you search, the more unsettling the answers become. What if the love you've been told to chase is not a treasure waiting to be found, but a carefully wrapped trap? What if it's not designed to complete you, but to consume you? This isn't about cynicism for its own sake. It's about clarity, the kind that only comes after disillusionment. Not the bitterness of a broken man, but the resolve of one who has stared into the lie and refused to look away. This is the starting point of our journey, not into darkness, but through it. Because only by confronting the truth, very devastating, can a man begin to build something real, something of his own. Let me tell you a story. A man named Alexander, not a king, but a thinker. Brilliant, driven, the kind of man who believes in meaning and building something lasting. He meets a woman who seems to reflect everything he values: sharp mind, shared passion, mutual ambition. And for years, he pours himself into her. Not just love, but belief, sacrifice, time. He becomes a builder of a dream that they both claim to want. But then comes the unraveling. Not all at once, but in fragments. A late-night message here, a strange silence there. And eventually, the truth, betrayal not just of body, but of intent. The lies weren't clumsy. They were calculated. And when Alexander confronts her, it's not guilt he sees in her eyes, it's pity. "You took it too seriously," she says, like it was all a game he misunderstood. That moment doesn't just end a relationship. It ends something deeper: faith. Because what Alexander experiences isn't rare, it's alarmingly common. His story is not the exception. It's the pattern. And what hurts most is not the betrayal itself, but the realization that this betrayal, this cold erosion of a man's worth, isn't some accident. It's woven into the fabric of the game. We grow up believing that love is about connection, shared values, deep understanding, mutual growth. We're told it's the highest form of human experience, the thing that completes us. But what if that story is only half the truth? Or worse, a beautifully packaged lie? Desire, in reality, isn't as romantic as we've been led to believe. It's not about connection. It's about power. Attraction, especially in the modern age, isn't driven by virtue or loyalty or depth. It's driven by effect. The impact you have on someone in a moment. The way you make them feel. And feelings are fickle. Female desire, in particular, tends to swing between two poles: security and excitement, stability and thrill. And most men, without realizing it, are slotted into roles that serve one of these two ends. You're the safe bet or the forbidden fruit, the provider or the passion. And if you ever stop delivering the effect she craves, the emotional high or the comforting safety net, you become disposable, no matter your history, no matter your devotion. Think about the men you've seen discarded not for failing to love, but for failing to entertain. The good husband traded for an affair. The steady boyfriend left for the spark she thought was missing. Society blames him, says he got too comfortable, stopped trying. But maybe that was never the problem. Maybe the spark was never meant to last. And that's the real danger. Most men are playing by rules that no longer apply, trying to win a game they don't even realize exists. They're seeking connection while being measured only by the effect they produce. And when that effect fades, no matter how good, how faithful, how real they've been, they're quietly removed from the board. It's one thing to feel like something's wrong. It's another to see it backed up by cold, hard numbers. Because once you do, it's no longer a hunch. It's a truth you can't unsee. Let's start with dating apps. The 80-20 rule isn't just a meme, it's reality. Studies show that a small percentage of men, often the most attractive or socially dominant, get the vast majority of attention from women. That leaves the average man fighting for scraps, not because he's unworthy, but because the system is built to highlight extremes. It's not about compatibility, it's about spectacle. Then there's hypergamy, the idea that women tend to seek partners who are either at or above their level in status, income, or social value. It's not a flaw, it's biology. But in a world where women are more educated and financially independent than ever, that pool of above-average men keeps shrinking. And guess who falls through the cracks? Men who, just a generation ago, would have been considered solid, reliable partners. Divorce statistics paint an even starker picture. The majority of divorces are initiated by women, and often, the reason isn't abuse or betrayal. It's boredom, disconnection, or the vague feeling that she could do better. Meanwhile, family courts and custody battles overwhelmingly favor women, reducing fathers to weekend visitors in their own children's lives. None of this is a conspiracy. It's not an attack. It's a mirror. And if you're a man trying to navigate love without understanding these forces, you're not just uninformed, you're vulnerable. The game is real. The rules are silent. And until you learn them, you're not playing, you're being played. At this point, it's easy to feel the weight of it all. The betrayal, the data, the realization that the game is rigged. Most men, when they reach this threshold, make one of two choices. They collapse into bitterness, or they chase some new illusion. But there's a third path, older, sharper, and far more dangerous. The path of the cynic. Enter Diogenes, a man who lived in a barrel, mocked kings to their faces, and rejected every lie society tried to sell him. Not because he was angry, but because he was free. While others begged for approval, he laughed. While others competed for status, he let it all go. He saw through the game, not with hatred, but with detachment. And in doing so, he became untouchable. This isn't about going off the grid or living in a cave. It's about a mindset, a lens. The cynic doesn't beg for love. He doesn't chase validation. He studies the world, not to cry about it, but to master it. Philosophy becomes a weapon, not a wall. It cuts through illusion, breaks chains, and leaves you standing in the wreckage of your old beliefs with something new: control. Because once you stop expecting the world to be fair, once you stop needing it to make sense, you stop suffering. You stop chasing, and you start choosing. Now that the illusion has been exposed and the old map burned, the question becomes, how do you move forward? What does life look like on the other side of disillusionment? For the modern man walking through the wreckage of outdated romantic ideals, the answer isn't found in bitterness or withdrawal. It's found in power, not the kind measured in money or likes, but the quiet, immovable power of a man who knows who he is and refuses to be bent. This is where the cynic re-enters, not as a symbol of retreat, but as a blueprint for freedom. There are 3 laws. Learn them, live them, and everything changes. Law 1. Become ungovernable. First law is the foundation of it all: become ungovernable. And no, that doesn't mean rebellious for rebellion's sake. It means removing the strings others use to control you. Women, social media, even your biology, they all know how to push your buttons. Validation, affection, praise, these are the currencies used to buy your compliance. The moment you stop needing them, you become dangerous. Diogenes lived in a barrel, not because he couldn't do better, but because he refused to let comfort or status define him. He didn't need approval, and that made him powerful. Today, the average man lives for attention, desperate for a message back, for a swipe right, for someone to say, "You matter." Break that addiction. Starve it. Learn to live without the external nod. When you no longer need her gaze, her approval, her softness, you become something rare, a man who cannot be manipulated. Law 2. Weaponize. The second law is about perspective. Most men take women far too seriously, not just romantically, but existentially, as if their validation confirms a man's worth. That seriousness is your undoing. The cynics knew this. They mocked gods, kings, and customs not because they hated the world, but because they refused to be imprisoned by reverence. The moment a woman senses that you pedestalize her, that you need her to see you, choose you, validate you, you lose the game. Instead, learn to laugh. At her tests, at your desperation, at the absurd dance modern dating has become. When she's cold, smirk. When she's dramatic, stay calm. When the whole situation becomes ridiculous, treat it like the comedy it is. Not cruelly, not with contempt, but with the calm confidence of someone who no longer plays to win her approval, only to keep his center. Law 3. Embrace the animal. Finally, the third law: embrace the animal. Civilization has spent centuries sanding down the sharp edges of masculinity. You're told to be nice, to be safe, to be endlessly agreeable. But deep down, you know that something primal still stirs in you. Something that doesn't beg. Something that acts. Diogenes didn't just mock society, he rejected its rules entirely. He ate in the streets, relieved himself in public, and lived without shame. Why? Because he wasn't performing. He wasn't pretending. He had stripped himself down to his core, and from that place, he lived. You don't need to live in a barrel, but you do need to stop apologizing for your instincts. You are not a therapist. You are not a servant. You are not here to fix her emotions or make the world comfortable. You are here to lead, to act, to move. Want her? Take the lead. Tired of her? Walk away. No begging. No bargaining. Just action. And in that action, you reclaim something you were never meant to lose, your sovereignty. These 3 laws aren't about turning you into someone else. They're about stripping away everything you're not. What remains is a man untangled from illusion. A man who no longer reacts to the world, but moves through it with purpose. This is the cynic's way not to escape life, but to master it. On your terms. Here's the part no one likes to talk about, the final trap. It's not about her. Not anymore. It's not about the betrayal, or the lies, or even the pain. It's about what that betrayal leaves behind in you. The question, why wasn't I enough? That's the wound most men carry silently. Not the memory of what was done to them, but the echo of what it made them feel. Small, unworthy, forgotten. And that's where the trap springs shut. Because if you let that question define your healing, if you base your worth on getting an apology, on her feeling regret, on finally being seen by the person who threw you away, you've just handed her the keys to your cage again. You're free in name, but still a prisoner in spirit. Still waiting. Still needing. Men often think they're chasing closure, but what they're chasing is vindication. Proof that they mattered. That it meant something. That they weren't just another disposable chapter in someone else's story. But the hard truth is, you may never get that. And even if you did, it wouldn't fix the hollow space inside. Because what was taken from you wasn't love. It was your sense of self. Diogenes was once captured and sold into slavery. When asked what he was good for, he didn't shrink. He looked his captors in the eye and said, "Governing men." Even in chains, he refused to be small. That's what this moment demands of you. Not strength in the eyes of others, but in your reflection. The kind of strength that doesn't wait to be validated, because it's done waiting. The real betrayal wasn't hers. It was yours, the day you gave someone else the power to decide your value. That ends now. The healing starts not when she apologizes, but when you stop needing her to. When you stand alone, broken but breathing, and say, "I am enough," not because she says so, but because I decide so. That's the turning point. The razor's edge. And most men never make it across. They stay trapped in the story, rewriting it, replaying it, begging for a different ending. But the truth is, the story only ends when you stop needing one. So what do you do with all of it? The betrayal, the truth, the raw ache of waking up in a world that's not what you thought it was. This is the turning point, the moment most men get stuck. They either spiral into resentment or retreat into numbness. But there's a third path, a harder one, a cleaner one. It's not about reacting. It's about rising. And to walk that path, you need a process, a mindset, a protocol. Step 1. Burn the script. Every man wounded by love ends up carrying a script. It's the story of what happened, how it should have gone, how he was wronged, how he deserved better. And in the beginning, that story feels like a lifeline. It gives the pain structure, meaning. But over time, it becomes a prison. You rehearse it in your head. You tell it to your friends. You wear it like armor. But the more you tell it, the more it owns you. You are not what happened to you. You are not the victim of her choices. The moment you stop replaying the betrayal is the moment you stop being bound to it. Let the story burn. Not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. Step 2. Embrace the void. When the story is gone, what's left is silence. And that silence is terrifying. It's where the questions live. The loneliness. The ache. Most men run from it. They dive into distractions, new women, new apps, new vices. But if you can sit in that silence, if you can face the void without flinching, something extraordinary happens. You start to detox, not just from her, but from your illusions. You let go of the belief that love was supposed to save you, that suffering means you're broken, that closure will ever come from someone else. The void isn't punishment. It's purification. Let it do its work. Step 3. Create, don't consume. Once the silence settles, once the noise dies down, you're left with space. And in that space, you get to decide who you become. Not who she saw you as. Not who the world tells you to be. But who are you? And that's where creation begins. Build something. Anything. A body. A business. A philosophy. A mission. Most men spend their lives consuming content, validation, and comfort. But the free man creates. He doesn't just heal from pain, he transforms it. He uses it as fuel to build something that outlasts the memory of what broke him. This is the Diogenes protocol. Simple, brutal, and liberating. Burn the story. Face the silence. Build the future. It's not about being unaffected. It's about being unstoppable. Not because you avoided pain, but because you moved through it and came out forged, not fractured. The pain won't vanish, but it will lose its grip. And in its place, you'll find something far more dangerous than happiness, peace. The kind that can't be bought, borrowed, or broken. So what remains when the illusions are gone? When the story is burned, the void has been faced, and there's no more need to be understood, forgiven, or loved in return. That's when you arrive at the edge, the abyss. And standing there, most men think they're staring into nothing. But they're wrong. The abyss isn't emptiness. It's a mirror. What you're seeing is you. This is where something deeper begins to wake up. Not ego, not anger, not pride, but will. The quiet, relentless force inside you that doesn't need applause, doesn't need permission, and doesn't need anyone to say, "Good job." The will to act, to move, to create, to stand. Not because someone is watching, but because you decide to. The world doesn't reward this kind of man. It is designed to prevent him from ever emerging. Everything around you, social media, shallow dating, endless consumption, is engineered to harvest your energy, your attention, your focus. Women extract it through desire. Corporations extract it through distraction. Weak men extract it through guilt and pity. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your entire life leaking power into systems that do nothing but feed off it. But when you reclaim your will, that flow stops. You no longer chase what depletes you. You no longer trade your fire for fleeting comfort. You choose your path, your pace, your purpose. You stop being a battery for someone else's machine and start becoming a force in your own right. This isn't about being immune to pain. It's about becoming immovable in the face of it. Because when you finally stop asking for the world to understand you, when you stop begging to be chosen or rescued, you begin to live from something no one can take, your own unshakable will. That is your edge. That is your weapon. And that is where freedom begins. In the final chapter, we meet the archetype of the unkillable man, not invincible in the literal sense, but someone who has mastered the art of inner sovereignty so deeply that no external force can truly break him. This is the man who has journeyed through hardship, wounds, and self-doubt, only to emerge not just stronger, but awakened. His power isn't rooted in brute strength or control over others. It's a quiet, unshakable freedom that comes from mastering three essential pillars. These pillars define him, protect him, and ultimately set him free. The first pillar is sovereignty of time. Time is the most precious currency we have, yet it's so easily stolen by distractions, grudges, and endless mental noise. The unkillable man refuses to give his time to what diminishes him. He rejects the pull of resentment, recognizing how it traps the heart and mind in a toxic loop. Instead, he claims his moments deliberately, choosing presence over endless scrolling, forgiveness over bitterness. In this way, he guards his time as sacred, knowing that each moment surrendered to distraction is a piece of his life lost forever. Sovereignty of time is about more than just managing hours. It's about refusing to be a slave to reactive emotions or the chaos of others. It's a profound act of self-respect and clarity. The second pillar is the laughing no, a phrase that captures a powerful paradox. Saying no is an act of setting boundaries, but doing it with humor and calm disarms attempts to control or manipulate. The unkillable man laughs, not to mock, but to show that he is unshaken, that no external pressure can force him into submission. This laughter is a shield and a sword. It diffuses tension and reminds others that he holds his power, unshaken by their demands or expectations. Silence often accompanies this laughter, a deliberate refusal to engage with toxic energy or unnecessary conflict. Through this blend of humor and quiet confidence, he dismantles control without aggression, reclaiming his autonomy with grace. The final pillar is the sacred obsession. This is the personal mission or calling that transcends the need for external approval or validation. The unkillable man is driven by something deeply meaningful, something that lights a fire in his soul and gives purpose to his days. It's not about fame, money, or accolades. It's about a pursuit that nourishes his spirit and aligns with his truth. This obsession is sacred because it anchors him during storms, reminding him why he endures and evolves. It becomes the reason he keeps moving forward, even when everything around him seems to crumble. In dedicating himself to this mission, he steps beyond victimhood and embraces a destiny shaped by intention, passion, and unwavering commitment. Together, these three pillars, the sovereignty of time, the laughing no, and the sacred obsession, compose the essence of the unkillable man. His transformation is complete, no longer a wounded soul carried by circumstance, but an awakened presence who owns his life fully. He embodies a freedom that can't be taken away because it was never given up. This is not just survival, it's thriving in a world that constantly tries to pull us apart. It's a testament to the human spirit's capacity to heal, resist, and rise again and again, undaunted and unbreakable. Here's the truth that often gets lost in the noise. You were never the victim in your story. The battles, the pain, the doubts, they didn't define you. The real power? It was inside you all along, quietly waiting to be claimed. Freedom isn't handed to you. It's born the moment you decide to burn away fear with the fierce heat of your purpose. Like a dragon waking from a long sleep, your inner fire rises, strong and uncontainable. It's that fire that breaks the chains, that fuels the courage to stand tall no matter what comes your way. So here's the final call. Don't shy away from that flame. Let it roar. Own it. Because once you do, you live unshackled, free, whole, and unstoppable. You were the dragon all along. Now it's time to fly.